Okay, I am trying to do this video because I have finally finished the quilt. I started it in May of 2019 and I needed to, I'm tired because I've hung this thing up a couple of times. This is the only space in the house that I could have a free wall that I could put it on so I could see. I'm standing up, I'm touching the ceiling. I'm on top of the bed that's really high. And this is the only place where you could see really how really long this thing is. That's the top of the ceiling, and that is the floor. And wow, I guess I would say that I'm proud of this quilt. I never would have made this quilt on my own, but it just so happens that one day there was, when I got home, there was some shirts in a bag sitting on my chair outside my door. And I thought, what in the world is this? And so I had no idea where all these shirts came from, whose they were, or why they were placed on my doorstep. And then I got the message from my daughter that they had told one of their friends, my mom knows how to make a quilt. Well, I didn't really know how to make a quilt, but it was a challenge for me. I had these shirts and I thought, well, they have faith in me. I'll see what I can do. And after looking at the quilts, after them sitting in my house for a long time, I thought to myself, oh no, this is going to be harder than I thought. Let me put this back this way. This is going to be harder than I thought. I don't have any equipment to make quilts with, and I didn't have anything to make a quilt with. Before, when I had done a t-shirt quilt for the girls, I just cut up some t-shirts, sewed them together, and I didn't put a backing on them because I didn't know how to put a backing on them. I just sewed them together. This time I thought, well, this isn't just for me or to remember their shirts, it's for somebody else. Let's see what I can come up with. So I started laying the shirts out and trying to figure out, okay, what shirt would look good next to what shirt, what size I needed to make, how was I going to go cut them. Well, I had to go to the store. I had to buy a square, a quilting square, and I had to buy some quilting rulers. I had to buy some things to cut the squares with. I had to buy a bunch of thread. I had to buy, since they're t-shirts, you have to have some way to be able to cut them, because if you cut t-shirts, as soon as you cut them, they roll up. And so you have to buy interfacing to put on the back of them. So I'm like, okay, where do you get interfacing? I had to find interfacing. And then, okay, I found out that there's binding in shirts, in t-shirts, or not in t-shirts, but in quilts. So how do you bind the darn thing? Well, you gotta go buy binding. So I still didn't know what I was doing, so I thought, well, let me go buy something that will go in between the rows. And there's these things called, what are they called? Charm packs? No, that's not what they are. But they're 2.5 inches by usually about 42 to 44 inches. So that I used in between all the rows. That's what those things are. 2.5. Okay, so you have to have a lot of them. So I didn't know how many I needed. I didn't know anything about quilting. So I went and bought a package, and then I found out, oh, you need more than one pack. And so I had to go back to the store, buy another pack. I got the other pack, started working on it, and found out that pack wasn't going to be enough. And then I thought, oh no, what am I going to do? You're going to have to come up with a different design. And so since this is for, was for a young lady that attended college at, you guessed it, UCF. And so the colors are like black and gold. And so then I went and I found some more material that was gold, and I highlighted these 4 blocks right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the reason why I highlighted those is because of what they said. It said sister to sister. Okay, so that's sisterhood. And this one says united for change. This one says to volunteer. So I think it's very important for us to volunteer. And if you want to be civic minded or do the things that you need to do, this one says it's on us. So I highlighted those with the gold. And then after I got all those things put together as one block, then I thought, okay, now I got to figure out how to put them together as rows. So I got them put together as rows. I had to come up with a design where each t-shirt was. And my design was to make the first one in each row black, and the third one white, and then the first one white, and the last one black. So I repeated that pattern all throughout. And I had to arrange the t-shirts. Hopefully I'd have enough t-shirts that the pattern would come out that way. So that's the third one. The third one would be white on this, in that row. The first one would be white in the next row. The third one would be white. And then the fourth row would be white and as number 1. And then in the next row, the third one would be white in the third position. And in the next row, the white one would be in first position. So that's how it worked out. That's how I designed that. So black at the beginning, black at the end, black at the beginning, black at the end, black at the beginning, and then black at the end on the bottom. So after I got the rows finished, okay, now to join the rows. And to tell you the truth, I don't know how to square up things very good. But for it being my first quilt, major quilt, I think it came out really well, all things considered. So I had to join the rows. And I joined all the rows. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. And let me just say that it's not very easy when you are working on just a regular old small sewing machine. That's all I had. I didn't have a big quilting sewing machine like some people have. I just had a regular sewing machine. So that was very hard. My next thing that I had to figure out is what to put on the back. Yeah. So I had to make a trip back to the store again and get a piece of material that was big enough. And let me tell you, this is a big piece of quilt. So it was at least 100 and something inches by 60 something inches. So I had to find a piece of material that was big enough. And then I sat on that for a while because I just didn't know how in the world, with the little 6-inch opening in a sewing machine, am I going to be able to take this great big quilt that is now sewed together in rows and put it in that little 6-inch space and put a backing on it. I got that done. It was a lot a lot of hard work to get that done, and a lot of sore shoulders to figure it out. And then after you get it on there, of course you have to find a way to stitch the front to the back. And so that's where there's little X's. You probably can't tell. in the quilts. Maybe you can see it on that one. So the front has to adhere to the back. So I had to draw a line from the top of that corner all the way down and sew it to where it ended. And I had to do that with each piece. Start a line going this direction and sew it down to where it ended, and so on and so forth. Once you got one side completed, I had to come back in the other direction and now sew going from that corner all the way down. And it continued till each row had an X in them. Are they straight? No. They're not straight. Again, that was my inexperience probably, and not having the best of equipment to put it together. But to say that I'm proud of the quilt, yeah, because for one thing, thanks to my daughters telling somebody that I know how to sew a quilt when I didn't know how to sew a quilt. I have a skill under my belt, and I probably could do it again if I had to. Do I want to in the near future? No, I don't. I really don't. Because there it goes. It's had enough. Maybe that's telling me it's time to end the video. But let me get down from this tall bed without falling. I do want to show you one more thing I did that I also didn't know how to do. Forgive me while I carry you in to another space. That's a painting I did a long time ago. I digress. I watercolor painted that a long time ago. And there it goes. It has fallen. Okay. You're going to be looking at walls, hopefully, or the back of my hand. Hopefully you won't get dizzy.
Talk about a wow as soon as you walk in the door.
Let's find the pillow that I made and show you that. That's the pillow, okay? First time I've made a pillow as well. And it may look a little strange to you because it's different materials. It's called raw edge appliqué quilting, and you use it to make various forms of art. And so this is the young lady's, this is a likeness of her actually that's getting the quilt. That's her hair. Okay, so that was a skirt of my daughter's. I made my daughter's a dress. The very first dress I made for them was out of this material. This is from some African print. It's not really pupils, it's actually squares, but I thought that little section looks like eyeballs, so I'm going to use it as that. This was some material that I used for bibs, and this was one of my daughter's dresses. This is again the African print, and I put a piece of sheer fabric over it. And this band right here going across was actually one of my dresses. And this is one of the t-shirts that I used to make the quilt. And this is another t-shirt I used to make the quilt. And then this is some of the design I sewed on there. So everything I did was new to me. And well, I think sometimes when we think that we can't do something, we find out that if we just try, we can do it. And so I'm so glad that I'm finished with it, and I hope the young lady that I made this for is especially glad that she has this as a keepsake of her college years. and that she appreciates it. I know I certainly worked hard, but that's shouldn't really matter to her how hard I worked. I don't think, because I'm not going to tell her that. But it was a challenge. I just want her to relish and enjoy the good memories that she had through her college years, and I was able to help her have a keepsake of that time in her life. And that's all I have to say. This is a signing off for this project, and on to the next project. But maybe not so soon. Maybe I need to wait until I catch a break, catch my breath, and figure out, is there really something else I want to do, or just take a break for a while. I'm sure I'll find something else I want to do. That was another painting I did. This is a young lady's last time that she will be a ballerina, and so she's standing there taking it all in. So that's all for me.